Welcome to Unleashing Happiness. I am your host, Cecilia Hendricks, and today we're going to talk about persistence and what it means to actually persist in the goal that you're working towards, in that desired outcome, this person that you want to be, and being really honest with ourselves to make sure that we're persisting in the right areas, that we're not persisting in opposition of who we want to be. So let's go ahead and get started. I also want to share a very quick update that starting next week, I'm going to be publishing the podcast only on Mondays. So I'm going to be combining our mindset motivation and the additional information that I'm putting into the Wednesday episodes. I would imagine that anyone who is working on any type of self-discovery or changing your life, improving areas of your life, improving yourself, changing your self-concept has come across the term of persisting and making sure that you're continuing to persist. And that's what we're going to talk about today, is what it means to persist, and also to make sure that you're persisting in the right thing. So when we're putting our focus into a life change and we're persisting in that life change, there could be something that you're persisting in that's maybe not actually aligned to it, and you're persisting in the opposition. And so I want to talk about that a little bit today as well. And we'll chat today about both sides of this. So the habitual side of how you're going to use science-based tools to change your habits to make sure that you're persisting in the area that you want, and building that kind of persistence muscle that I'll talk about a little bit more. And then also kind of the woo-woo side of things, where we're talking about how to spiritually connect with your future goals, the things that you want to obtain, and how you can feel those now and persist in those feelings now. How you can actually give yourself the fulfillment of being that person, changing the I am, your identity in your current state, so that you can actually blossom into this person that you want to be and move into the life that you want to lead and step into the mansion that you are seeking within your own life. I'll start by reading the definition of persistence. It's firm or obstinance continuous in a course of action in spite of difficulty or opposition. So in other words, you have put yourself on a path, you're working towards a specific goal, and you're persisting no matter what type of opposition you're running into. So whether your current reality is showing you barriers that you have to overcome, or you are kind of preventing yourself from moving forward, a lot of times that's kind of it, where you have to persist through your own comfort zone. Whenever you're making changes in your life, it is like putting on totally different clothes that are outside the style that you're used to wearing. And it can feel very uncomfortable, and it can feel like everyone notices that that's what you're doing and are putting their eyes on you. And persistence is all about pushing through those comfort zones until it's something that feels natural. And sometimes when you're persisting in something and you have these kind of opposition forces that come at you, it can feel a little bit like maybe you're being shown that you're not on the right path. And I think you have to really look internally if you are. Is the thing that you're persisting in actually what you want? Is it aligned to the type of person that you want to be? Does it hold your values? Does it hold the type of identity that you want to present to the world and that you want to have? Like when you go to sleep at night, if you were this person that had this thing or was the type of person that you're persisting in now, and you went to bed at night, would you feel okay with the type of person that you were? Would you feel good about the type of identity that you were holding? And that's really the question. It's not for me to answer to you or anybody else to answer to you whether you're right or wrong, but that is such a great way to check in with yourself to say, okay, do I feel good about the thing that I'm doing? Not am I persisting against my own comfort zone, not am I persisting through my own levels of comfort and familiarity, but am I able to persist in this and say, yes, this is something I would feel good about if it ended up coming into my world. And on that note, I want to take a step back. So I have a free journal. I'll put the link down below that you can actually download and list out how you want to feel when you go to bed at night. What are the type of feelings that you're seeking so that you can identify your desired outcome, your wish fulfilled, what it is that you're seeking in life? Because the more clear that you can get on that, the more that you're able to focus on a desired outcome, the more likely you are to obtain it. Having that goal and something to work towards, you're more likely to obtain it. You have it in your mind, you're focused on it. And so the other part, though, of identifying that is also understanding what this would mean for the type of person that you were, what this would mean for the type of identity and state that you were holding. And again, remember, this is not for me to judge. It's not for anybody else to judge. You're the one who has to go to sleep with this identity each night. So when you identify the thing that you want, start to really ask yourself, if this was in my world, how would I actually feel about it? Would I feel good and confident about bringing this into my world? Would I feel like this was the type of identity that I wanted people to know that I have? And I would be okay if people knew that this was something that I had done and had actively worked towards obtaining. One of the best questions to ask yourself constantly is, how do I want to feel when I go to bed at night? And this goes beyond just an external thing that you have, but how do you actually want to feel internally? What do you want to feel when you lay down at night? How do you want to feel about yourself? What type of values do you hold? What is important to you? Like, if integrity is one, is the thing that you're going after, what you're persisting in, aligned with your personal integrity? So I think those things are key to starting this process. So once you identify, this is the identity that I want to have, this is the state, this is the type of person that I want to be, because once you have even an external thing, you now identify as the type of person who has that thing in their life. And so if you're good with that, this is really aligned with the type of person that you want to be, the identity you want to hold, that's fantastic. But part of this is really getting very honest with yourself about the goal that you're seeking and what you're doing for yourself. Is this who you want to be? Is this where you want to place your attention? And is this aligned with how you want to feel when you go to bed at night? I have 3 questions that I always recommend that you ask yourself, and these are listed in the journal as well. But one is, if you knew for a fact you only had 1 year to live, what would you start doing? So what are things that you would start doing in your life if you knew that your time was limited? The other one is, if you knew your time was limited, what would you stop doing? So what are activities, routines, and habits that you would not want to continue if you knew that your time was actually on a limit? Because when it comes down to it, we're all on a time limit here. We just don't actually know what that limit is. And so when you look at it like that, what are these things that you would stop doing or start doing in your life? You know that you only have so much time here. You want to make sure that you actually have a life that's worth living. At least that's how I feel. I want to have a life that's worth living. I want to go to bed each night feeling good about the things that I did that day, because I don't know when my last day is. And my last day in this lifetime, right? I have a firm belief that we definitely continue after this. But for this life, while I'm embodying Cecilia Hendricks for everybody to see, I want to make sure that I'm living a life that I really enjoy, that I am experiencing the things that are here for us to experience, and that I'm learning each day how to broaden my own horizons. So then the third question in this series, after you've asked what would you start and what would you stop doing, is, what is preventing you? So when you really look at it now, if you were to say, I would start doing XYZ, what is preventing you from starting that right now? And what helps is that once you have all of these things identified and you know what your desired outcome is and the things that you want to experience in your own life, you go back to that question of asking yourself, how do I want to feel when I go to bed at night? And then during the day, when you're working towards these goals, you can start to ask yourself, is this aligned with how I said I want to feel when I go to bed at night? Is what I'm doing right now actually persisting in this feeling that I want to have when I go to bed? Is it persisting in the goals that I have of what I would start doing with my life or stop doing in my life? And the more that you ask yourself that, the more that you're just reminding yourself of this goal that you have in mind. And on Monday, I talked about the book by Earl Nightingale, The Strangest Secret. And in that book, he recommends that you write out your goal on an index card and that you keep it with you, and that you look at it in the morning and you look at it throughout the day and you look at it at night, and you really embody and feel what it would be like to be that person who has that goal. And so you continue to return to it. That is a persistence. You're continuing to return back to that feeling of that state being fulfilled for you, that wish being fulfilled. You're continuing to go back to persisting in that. And if you're a follower of Neville Goddard, or if you've read any of his stuff, he talks about how what you persist in, where you continue to go back to, is where you dwell. So if you think about a state as being your identity, and you have this identity that you want to change, right? There's a part of you that you would like to broaden your horizons and become better, change your life in an area. When you're focused on a specific goal and you continue to return to that feeling of that goal, your habits and routines will start to naturally align with that. And I've spoken about this quite a lot actually on the podcast and any of my content. But when you have a goal in mind and your identity starts to shift, no matter how small, you'll start to see different habits and routines that are showing up. So in other words, let's say that you wanted to be a better friend to the people in your life. And there was things that to you said, this would make me a better friend, checking in more often, getting thoughtful little gifts here and there, asking them to go out and hang out with me. The more that you returned to paying attention to that goal of being a better friend, the more that your mind would say, I need to do things for us to confirm that we're this great friend. And in our mind, being a great friend means that we would text more often, or we would pick up the phone and call more often, or we would do small gifts, or, ask to hang out, whatever it is to you that says being a good friend. So then your mind would start to say, we should start to do these things. And that's why when people say that you don't have to take action, this is exactly what it means. When you're persisting in an end goal and state, you're shifting your identity. And as you shift your identity, your habits and routines, the actions that you want to take each day also shift. Because if you were paying attention to being this amazing friend to these people, there are things that you just would not do. The more that you become this great friend that's outlined by your own beliefs of what a great friend would or would not do, the more you're going to do the things that are aligned with being a great friend versus the things that are not aligned to being a great friend. And you can certainly help these things out. You can start to make changes within your own life to make sure that you are paying attention and persisting in the right thing. So when you have a goal in mind and you want to do a certain thing and you have this desired outcome that you have in front of you and you're looking at it and you want to do this thing, you want to be the person who embodies having this type of life. You have a desired outcome, you have a wish fulfilled that you're looking at. You can actually end up also persisting in the opposition. And this is another area that you have to be very honest with yourself. When you stop and look at what your daily thoughts are, what your daily routines and habits are, what are you actually persisting in? What are you telling yourself and confirming to yourself with your own habits and actions and routines that you are or you are not? And a good example of this one is someone who wants to be the healthiest version of themselves. And you say, okay, I want to be this healthiest version of me. And the healthiest version of me looks like ABC. And you can have that listed, that your clothes fit great, that you're able to hike to the top of a mountain, and that you can run a mile. Let's just say those are the three things. Now, someone who is working towards that goal and felt that their identity was rooted in being this healthy, amazing person would get up and maybe take a walk each day. They would go and do a workout. They would not maybe eat a dozen donuts in a day. And remember, all of these things are based on your own beliefs. So what to me would say I'm the healthiest version of myself may be different for you. What for me may say this actually is complete opposition of me being the healthiest version of myself could be different for you. We each have our own unique makeup that makes us, and our beliefs our own. And so what may be healthy to me may be completely unhealthy to you. And that's okay. You have to figure out what it means for you. Because remember, you're not convincing me you are this person. You're convincing yourself that you are this person. And the daily habits and routines that you maintain are confirming to you that you are or are not this identity that you're looking towards. Because remember, you don't get what it is that you want. You don't become the person that you want. You become the person that you believe you are. So you become what you think. You become the things that you dwell in. So again, it really comes down to making sure that you're being honest and open with yourself. And it's not about beating yourself up or being upset with yourself, but the more honest and aware you can become of the things that you're doing now and what you're persisting in, the more opportunity you have to change it. So what I recommend is that you take a moment, at least for 24 hours, and start to pay attention to the things that you're doing. Pay attention to where you're actually dwelling and pay attention to your habits. So if you either get that journal that I talked about earlier, the link is down below, or if you just write out kind of your own, I want you to think about the things. What would you start doing? What would you stop doing? What's preventing you? What do you want to feel when you go to bed tonight? And on top of that, what's the identity that you actually want to hold? What is the desired outcome that you have? How do you want to feel internally? What are your values? And really start to think about this very strongly. Start to really consider what it is you want to do, what you want to work towards in life. So once you have that and you think about it, think about what it would mean to you to be that person. How would that person behave throughout the day? What would be some thoughts that they would have? How would they talk to themselves? How would they talk to others? How would they spend their morning? Really start to dig in and really imagine yourself in this life that you want to lead, this life that has the thing that you want to have. And so once you have those kind of thoughts in line, then start to pay attention to, what am I actually doing? Am I aligned to the person that I mapped out before? Or am I working in complete opposition of it? So if I go back to being the healthiest version of myself, if I say, okay, if I was a healthy version of myself, I would get up in the morning, I would have energy, I would feel good. I'd be able to move very well because my back would be nimble and I would be just like in good shape, right? I'd be able to get up. And then from there, I know that in the morning, I would do at least a 20-minute workout, whether that's a walk, yoga, Pilates, weight training, boxing, whatever it is that I want to do. That's something that would equal to me that I was being the healthiest version of myself. When I looked in the mirror, I would think, wow, I look really amazing. And when I got dressed, I would feel good about myself. So those are going to be my kind of core habits that I would consider about myself, or I would think about myself if I was the healthiest version of myself, if I was in that identity of somebody who really took care of themselves and felt good and felt healthy. But then let's say that I take a look at my current daily routine and I say, well, I wake up in the morning and I grab my phone and I lay in bed for about 40 minutes and I don't actually get up and I just scroll on my phone. And I don't feel great about myself because I'm not working towards my goals and I'm in a little bit of an analysis paralysis where I keep scrolling things on maybe Instagram or TikTok. I'm saving a bunch of like workouts or I'm saving a bunch of healthy recipes, but I'm never actually following through with those. I'm not actually getting those done. And then once I get up, I'm having to kind of rush around to get ready. I grab a donut on my way out the door. As I'm rushing to work, I go through the Starbucks drive-through and I grab a sugary drink. And I think about how my belly is now hanging over my pants and I just don't feel very good. And then I fall into a loop of being like, great, now I've done it yet again. I feel like crap. And I didn't get up and do my goals. I didn't work on anything that I wanted to. That's fine. Okay, this is who I am right now, and that's not a problem. But if I look back on those, I can say, these habits are not actually aligned to the person I want to be. Who I'm persisting in being is actually the unhealthy version of myself. I'm persisting now in saying that I am not somebody who follows through, that I am not somebody who shows up for myself and does these things for myself. And again, I don't beat myself up over this stuff. I've been in the position that I have just shared with you. Like, it's not to say that I haven't been. I share stuff from my own personal experiences because I've been through this and this is what has worked for me. And I've watched it work in other people's lives. The best thing that you can do for yourself is say, hey, I want to make a change. I want to be somebody different. And here's the way that I can change my identity. So when you've paid attention now to the behaviors that you're keeping, it's time then to look at your habits and make a decision on the ones that you want to change. So a habit works in a loop. You have a cue, which could be waking up. Actually, a cue, just to go real quick, it can be any kind of place. It can be a smell. It can be a person. It can be a time of day. Anything that triggers you to say, hey, it's time to do this routine. And then that's the second part, is you fall then into your routine. So if I'm using the morning as an example, my cue is that I wake up. My routine then in the example that I gave was that I grab my phone and I start scrolling, and I don't actually get up and work towards being this person that I want to be. I don't focus on my goal. Instead, I continue to confirm the current identity and the current reality that I'm maintaining. And then you do end that with a reward. So that reward can be a chemical reaction. You're getting dopamine from scrolling on your phone. It can also just be that feeling of comfort, or you can start to shift it and get dopamine from some other areas, like getting outside, doing exercise, positive affirmations, etc. There's a whole list of them that you can do. And that's why I always recommend doing your daily joys. So if you're new here, or if you just need a reminder, a daily joy is writing out a list of small things that bring you joy. And it can be something very simple, like taking a bubble bath, a 5-minute walk, smelling the roses out in your front yard, looking at a butterfly, putting bird seed out so you can watch the birds, drinking a nice cup of coffee, cuddling up in a blanket and reading a book in front of the fireplace. Whatever it is that brings you joy. And you write out a list. My list is massive now, but you write out this list and you make a conscious effort to not only do these things that bring you joy, but pay attention to that moment. Say, I'm going to pay attention to how I feel in this moment, the fulfillment that I am getting in this moment because I'm doing something for myself that brings me joy. These are the new habits that you can create in your life. Start paying attention to the joys. Start spending less time on your phone. Start spending less time looking for more information about how to change your life, and start putting the information you already have into practice. So I also recommend that now that you have all of this outlined of what you want to do and where you want to put your attention, to pick one small habit that you can change during the day, something that you can add during your day that aligns more with the person you want to be. Is it getting up and going for a 10-minute walk? Is it setting a timer and doing 3 minutes of yoga? Is it writing out positive affirmations about yourself? Is it calling a friend and connecting with somebody? Is it adding some more daily joys into your life so that you can enjoy your day and really start to build up those feelings of natural gratitude, whatever it is for you. But I want you to think about at least one thing that you can add to your day, and habit stacking is a great way to do this. A habit stack is by adding something to something you're already doing. So like one that I really love is when I'm folding laundry, I listen to either a podcast or an audiobook. It just makes it a little bit more enjoyable for me. And so I've been doing that. When there's stuff that I have to get done, I add something that I enjoy because that makes it more likely that I'm going to do it. Even if I go for a walk, I really love to walk and listen to the birds. But after a little bit, I'm kind of like, oh, I want something else to do. My mind starts to wander. And so I'll listen to either some very uplifting music or I'll put on a podcast. And so you can start to do those as well. Start to combine your habits. Because the more that you can learn how to persist and put your attention into the thing that you want to become, regardless of what's going on around you, the quicker that you will start to shift into that person, and the faster you'll start to see this present itself in your life. So I hope you found this beneficial and that you have an absolutely beautiful week. And if you have any questions, feel free to shoot me an email. It's unleashinghappiness@ceciliahendricks.com. Or if you're listening on YouTube, you can definitely leave those down in the comments. And again, I wish you nothing but the best. Have an absolutely beautiful week.